Hello, it is Sunday, February 8th. I am in Geneva at Playhouse 38. Never been to this area before, but it wasn't too bad. The Playhouse is on like the back side of this building, so getting to the building was fine. Getting to the Playhouse door, hopefully that's the right door. But I am here to see Matilda Jr. And I bought this ticket so long ago, and I care so little about professional sports. I didn't realize when I bought it that it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I didn't even put that together until like a week ago. And so the last couple days, I've been thinking like, it's kind of weird that they're putting on a show during Super Bowl Sunday. But, it's a Sunday matinee. So in my head, the last couple days, this show was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 10 a.m. There's another show later, which I think with a different cast, at 3 p.m. So that's going to be closer to the Super Bowl. But luckily, my reminder in my phone had the time on it, and that went off this morning as I was still in bed, and I was like, "Oh, that's at 10 a.m. and it's about an hour and a half drive, and I like to get to these places at least half an hour early, so I left before 8 a.m., which is not what I was expecting going into today, but made me glad that my show yesterday was a matinee. That was at 2 p.m. So not like I had a late night or anything, but I'm going to go in. Hopefully I'm at the right spot and try to find my seat. I don't even know if I have a specific seat or if it's just general admission. Oh no, I do have a seat. It's written so big I didn't see it. So, gonna go check out Matilda. Okay, time to talk about Matilda Jr. And my cat is on my lap, and she has been very scratchy lately. So if you see me wince in pain, that's why. Another new venue. I'm really enjoying seeing the different venues and how different places set up. This is a very small theater in Geneva, Illinois, which I've never been to. Don't think I've even heard of before. And I knew it was small because they had the seating chart on their website when I bought tickets. But it's pretty small. I mean, they fit quite a lot of people in there. And I believe, I'm not 1,000% sure about this, but I believe there were 3 different casts all doing this show simultaneously. So you can see on my program, it says this is the Honey cast, but I believe there were 3 of them. And I don't know any details about these kids or this program or this place, but I overheard other people talking, and it sounded like they just had a lot more people try out than they expected. So I don't know if that's something that they do often or if something was special about this. There were about, I didn't count, but I think they said there were about 90 kids total. So that would be about 30 per show. And yet, in this one, there were only 2 boys in it. So I don't know how spread out they were between the other 2 casts. But 90 kids and less than 10 boys, that's a little sad. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 20. I count 29 names very quickly. So about 90 per cast if there's no crossover. I was pretty impressed with how much they were able to do with a small amount of space and a pretty simple format. There was just the one kind of back set. It wasn't a backdrop. It was a back set that people could walk through. Had a little bit of a platform on it. Stage wasn't very wide. I don't know how the wings were set up, but there was a lot of moving on and off from there. Not a ton of lights that I could see, although I know sometimes they're in places that are hard to see, but they used lighting quite a bit. A lot of furniture coming on and off with the stagehands. All that worked really well. The kids were not mic'd, which worked pretty well with how small. My cat's about to jump at me. Why are you biting me? The no mics worked pretty well with how small the venue was. Most of the kids projected really well. Um, there were a couple kids in smaller roles that I could not hear, but it wasn't anything major. And there were a few times where the music um, was just not too loud, but louder than the kids. So sometimes I couldn't hear from that. But for the most part, I thought that worked pretty well. But the music was coming through speakers, which I assume were spread throughout, and I was sitting in the very back row. So if I'd been sitting closer to the stage, I probably would have heard the voices better. Um, they did kind of an interesting thing. It's pretty common. I'm learning at theaters that even if they're sold out, they will let people wait, and if there's people that don't show up, then those people that didn't have a ticket, even though it was sold out, can buy one of those tickets again. But this one also said that they would be selling standing room only seats. So I didn't. I always forget to take a look around before I go sit down. That's what I want to do, is like kind of walk around and look at closer up to the stage and look at further back and check out the ceiling. And I always forget to do that. I think partly I just don't want to be like a weird guy walking around taking notes. So instead, I just go and I sit down into my chair and I start taking notes. But you go through the lobby, which the lobby, this theater is like a suite in I don't know what you would call it, like a business park, or not an industrial park, but like a big building that has lots of different things in it. This is just one of the suites. So there's not really a lobby proper. There's just kind of an entryway that can take you to a few different places. One of which is a dance academy type thing. So I imagine a lot of the kids are also in that. But once you go into the theater proper, it's all just one room. So I don't know what's behind the stage, but the ticket taker, the concessions, the merchandise, all of that is just in the back. So you walk in. I don't know how to show this on camera, but I walked through the door, and then the back of the auditorium was to my right, and then the stage was to my left, and so that's just the back of the auditorium. And that was the only space behind me. And the seats, they're just chairs set on the floor. They're not built in or anything. They're not folding. They were not super comfortable. And my seat, the last two rows are on risers. And I knew that. That was in the seating chart. But they were I don't want to say homemade, because they probably made them themselves, but they were very clearly handmade by local people. They weren't manufactured or ordered special or anything like that. They weren't the greatest quality. I kind of felt, I'm a big guy. I recognize that, but they were creaking and snapping and making concerning noises as I was walking on them. And the banister that went around the back and the side to my right, because I was sitting on the edge of the left side, so I was just left of the center lane. That thing was flopping around. I was like, if something happened and I were to fall, there's no way it's barely going to slow me down. So that didn't make me feel great. So many times during the show, I was wondering, I wonder if there's even a block along the back of the riser to keep the chair from scooting off backwards, because I didn't want to adjust my chair too much because I was afraid I'd fall off. But I will say, once the show got going and like I had to scooch in to let people pass me, it was nice to be able to set my arm on the banister, and as long as the weight was going down and not to the side, that worked pretty well. There were two teenagers, or it seemed like a brother and sister. One might have been a little younger than a teenager, that were sitting next to me, and not that they came off and on a lot, but you know, they passed me before the show. They passed me twice during intermission. The girl, like most people, you know, tries to avoid knocking into you as you go. This little boy, every single time he walked past me, he stepped past me with the leg closest to me. It's like, no, you like scooch around and try to avoid. Like, at least if I'm here, step with the opposite leg when you go past me. But no, he would just boom, right, right into my leg every time. But those weren't the most annoying people in the audience, and I feel bad that this tainted my experience so much because I liked the cast, I liked the show, I liked the production, but people behind me, and I couldn't tell if they were working the merch shops or if they were just standing in the standing room only. It seems like they were parents of one kid in particular, but I'm not 100% sure. But they were cheering, losing their mind at everything. At everything. I'm not just talking about when a kid hits a high note or when the scene goes dark or when the kids strike a pose. Like, a kid did a twirl. Not a jump, not a fancy dance move, literally just turned around. And they're woo! Woo! Losing their minds in the back of the audience. You gotta not do that, guys. Consider this a PSA if you're not experienced in theater of either stage or movies. You gotta chill with that. You are taking away. They were in the back, and this was not a big theater, so literally every single person in that theater, including the kids on stage, got distracted by these yahoos losing their mind. I am all for cheering and supporting, and especially with when it's little kids. The youngest kid, I should say there were kids as young at least at I can't even speak. At least as young as third grade. And the program is mentioned. Not all of them have their grades mentioned, but of the ones that do, the youngest I saw was third grade. I think the oldest was like seventh grade. But someone said that this type of production is open to 7 through 17, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. But like, I get it. With little kids, you want to be encouraging, but like, it's distracting. And everyone in there paid money to see the kids. These people in the back of the auditorium literally have main character syndrome, and they're in the audience. There is a main character on the stage. We're all trying to listen to them, and we can't hear them because you won't shut up back there. That drove me insane. The two teenagers next to me were both playing games on their phone. That didn't bother me. The sound was off. The light was dim. They were sitting still. They shouldn't have been doing it, but at least it wasn't disruptive. And it didn't disrupt anyone in front of them. But oh my gosh, these people behind me were driving me crazy. Other than that, I really enjoyed this show. I'm a fan of the old 90s movie. I hadn't seen it a lot since I was a kid, but I did recently, meaning last year. I bought the DVD, watched it again, still a big fan. I'm aware of the Netflix version, but I've never seen it. I've seen clips of it. It looks cool and energetic and hip and exciting. And if I had Netflix, I would watch it, but I don't, so I can't. It did surprise me that almost every character in this, almost every kid in the cast spoke with an accent. I think the only major exceptions were Matilda's parents. They just spoke with their regular voices. But all the kids, I don't remember. I don't think Miss Honey used an accent, and Trenchbull just sounded like Trenchbull. Trunchbull, not Trenchbull, Trunchbull. But all the kids at the school spoke with a British accent. And it got me wondering where the actual story takes place. Because I know the Netflix version is British. The movie version that I know was American. But I'm pretty sure Roald Dahl was British. But I don't know if it specifies in his book. I've never read the book where the story takes place. So neither here nor there. I thought they did pretty well with their accents. I'm not an accent expert, but good enough for me. Most of them imitated pretty well in the singing, which usually is where it falls apart, at least in what I've seen. So that was all fine. You know, they're kids. They're cute. They're doing their little dances. Singing was pretty good. The only downside is that not all of the songs, probably not even most of the songs, but some of the songs, the lyrics are very fast. There's a lot of words and they're really fast, and you have to be really, really precise and clear in order to be able to understand them. And with not all 29 kids were singing every song together, but like when there's a big group on stage and none of them are mic'd and they're all trying to sing these very fast runs at once, it got kind of muddy. And I don't think that's anyone's fault. It's just the reality of the situation when that's how your music is. You know, maybe if they used mic, they could have passed it around and had one kid sing at a time, or if a couple kids were mic'd and not all of them, the stronger ones could have been mic'd. You know, I don't know what the infrastructure of that theater is. Maybe they don't have the capability to mic. But that was really the only downside in terms of the music or the singing. Was just that you couldn't really understand all the words in those kinds of songs. I was really impressed with how much they were able to do on that stage, because that was not a big stage. I mean, looking at that stage, if I had to guess how many people you could comfortably sit or fit on that stage, I would have said about 8, maybe 12. And they had at least 24, I counted at one point. 24 kids on there at once. And they all knew what they were doing. It was all choreographed really well, blocked really well. And even though the set background didn't change, the furniture pieces that they moved in and out, and the lights, again, they didn't have a ton of lights, but they used them well. That's something that I'm trying to learn more about right now, is different types of lights and how that kind of stuff works. So I'm trying to pay extra attention to that. But like, with how small that stage was, I was very impressed with everything that they were able to do. So I saw the showing at 10 a.m. They had another showing with a different cast at 3 p.m. And I considered staying to see it again. Even though I didn't have a ticket, because I was like, and I checked to see if I could buy one, but they were sold out. Because again, small theater. But I was like, I could wait and see if someone doesn't show up. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so it seems likely to me that someone's not going to show up. And I was like, it'll be cool to see it with a different cast. I'll probably get more from the songs than I got the first time from the stuff that I missed, especially if I sit closer. And I was like, hopefully those obnoxious loudmouths that were behind me won't be behind me this time. But a couple reasons I decided not to do it. Number one, there was no guarantee that I would have gotten a ticket. And I don't remember exactly when this got out, but it was before noon, I think. So I would have been waiting over 3 hours to maybe get a ticket. And those obnoxious loudmouths might have been the people working the concessions and merch booths. I couldn't tell for sure, but I thought that was a possibility. And even though they were mostly focused on, like I said, I think they were parents. I think they seemed to be mostly focused on cheering for one kid. They did it in and out. So I'm like, even if their kid's not in the other ones, they'll still do it more. Um, so I ended up deciding not to stay for the second showing, and today was the last day of the show, so don't get to go again. But I think there are other theaters in my area putting this show on later in the year, so I will try to, if that's accurate, I will try to get to another version of it because I'd like to see another group. It's interesting to me to see the same thing interpreted in different ways. Um, so I'm going to keep an eye out for that. But before I left to go home, because again, it wasn't even noon yet, I was like, there's probably another theater somewhere doing another matinee show at like 2 or 3. And I'm like, I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, but if you did it at 2 or 3, the Super Bowl doesn't start till late, right? It'd still be done. So I got on my Google Doc that I've been keeping track of everything I can find on. And there were only a couple that had another showing that day, and I think one of them was back in Moline, where I just was the last 2 days, and literally it was the opposite side of the state from where I was. So I don't even think I could have made it there, but even if I could have, I didn't want to. And there might have been one or two more that I just wasn't interested in the show at all. But there was one that was in a theater that's very close to me that I've been wanting to get to the venue of for years, and I've just never done it. And they were putting on Little Women, which I wasn't really interested in. But I'll save that story for my video on that show because I did go to it. But one last quick note about Matilda. This is my ticket that I printed off from the computer for some of their next shows. I'm looking forward to this one, Dorothy in Wonderland. That's in March. That's next month. So I'll be back. But then they also gave me the little card, and then the program is pretty nice. This is how it should be done. Morton Junior High School. Not give me a little thing and then 5 minutes later make me turn it in. I like having stuff. I like having artifacts that remind me of my experience. I'm still salty about that from that Annie show. But I think that's all I've got to say about Matilda Jr. I liked it. Hopefully this show stays popular for a while. And if you get a chance to go see it, go check it out. It's pretty fun. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.